On April 10, 1912, the Titanic prepared to set sail on its maiden voyage. Thousands gathered along the docks, gazing in awe at the massive vessel. At 882 feet long, taller than many buildings, she dwarfed every ship around her. Her colossal smokestacks pierced the sky, billowing dark plumes as the engines roared to life. The crowd cheered, waving handkerchiefs, calling out to loved ones boarding the ship. First-class passengers arrived in grand style, stepping down from elegant carriages, trunks and luggage piled high. Gentlemen in top hats escorted ladies draped in jewels and gowns. They walked the gangway with pride, certain that they were part of history, boarding the most magnificent ship the world had ever seen. In second class, families and businessmen eagerly carried their belongings aboard, dreaming of the journey to America, where opportunity awaited. And down in third class, the steerage passengers, immigrants from Ireland, Scandinavia, and beyond clutched small bags and children's hands, their hearts filled with hope for a new life. As the Titanic slowly departed from Southampton, her horn echoed across the harbor like a thunderclap. People cheered, whistles blew, and the ship's massive hull slid gracefully through the water. The Titanic was on her way to New York City, carrying over 2,200 passengers and crew. Spirits were high. The voyage promised adventure, comfort, and luxury unlike any other. Life on board was a marvel in itself. The first-class quarters were the height of extravagance. The grand staircase, adorned with polished oak, brass, and a stunning glass dome, gleamed under the light of chandeliers. Elegant dining rooms served 7-course meals on fine china. There was a swimming pool, a Turkish bath, smoking lounges, reading rooms, and promenade decks where the wealthy strolled, admiring the endless ocean. Musicians played softly as waiters in crisp uniforms delivered wine and delicacies. Second-class passengers enjoyed fine accommodations as well, far better than what most could ever expect at sea. Comfortable cabins, good food, and pleasant lounges gave them a taste of refinement. They relaxed on the deck, watching the sea roll by, talking about their plans in America. In third class, the atmosphere was different but no less full of life. Families sat together in crowded rooms, sharing stories, laughter, and songs. Children ran across the decks, playing while their parents sang folk tunes and dreamed of the future. Though modest, the steerage dining halls served hearty meals, and many found it more than they had ever known back home. The Titanic sailed smoothly through the Atlantic. Days passed in a dreamlike rhythm: meals, games, music, conversations. Passengers marveled at the endless sea stretching to the horizon. The wealthy felt certain they were on the safest ship ever built. Engineers boasted of her watertight compartments and reinforced hull. Newspapers had proclaimed her unsinkable. Confidence was absolute. But as the ship glided across the dark Atlantic, nature remained indifferent to human pride. Icebergs had been reported drifting in the northern waters. Warnings came from other ships, but the Titanic pressed on at nearly full speed. After all, she was believed to be invincible, and arriving early in New York would be yet another triumph. The night of April 14th was clear and cold. Stars glittered brilliantly above the Black Sea. The ship's passengers enjoyed their evening in the lounges and dining halls. The wealthy danced to live music, clinking glasses of champagne. In second class, travelers gathered for games of cards and conversation. Down below, in third class, families sang and celebrated life, as children grew tired and fell asleep in their bunks. On the bridge, lookouts kept watch, their eyes scanning the darkness. The ocean was calm, almost eerily so, with no waves breaking to reveal hidden dangers. Suddenly, a cry pierced the night. Iceberg, right ahead. The crew sprang into action. The helmsman spun the wheel, officers shouted commands, and the great ship strained to turn, but it was too late. With a grinding, shuddering roar, the iceberg scraped along the starboard side, tearing open the steel hull. Passengers felt a sudden jolt. Glasses rattled, the engines groaned. Most thought little of it at first. The ship continued forward, appearing unharmed. Laughter and music still echoed from the grand salons. But below the surface, seawater rushed in through gaping wounds. Compartment after compartment filled with icy water. The Titanic's design was strong, but not strong enough. She could survive flooding in 4 compartments. She could not survive 6, and 6 had been breached. Word spread slowly at first. Stewards knocked on cabin doors, urging passengers to dress warmly and put on life jackets. Confusion rippled through the decks. Some dismissed it as an unnecessary drill. Others grew uneasy as they saw crew members rushing about. When the order was given to uncover the lifeboats, fear began to spread. Passengers gathered on the decks, their breath visible in the freezing air. Lifeboats were lowered, though many left only partially filled. People could not believe the Titanic was in real danger. Some refused to leave the warm, brightly lit ship for the small, swaying boats. Wealthy gentlemen insisted there was no need to worry. Mothers clutched children as officers shouted, "Women and children first." Music continued to play, a desperate attempt to calm the crowd. The band performed waltzes and hymns, their notes drifting hauntingly across the cold night. Below decks, panic rose as third-class passengers struggled to find their way to the upper decks. Locked gates and confusing corridors delayed them, and many never reached the lifeboats. The great ship began to list, tilting toward the sea. The bow sank lower, waves crashing across the deck as passengers scrambled. Lifeboats pulled away into the darkness, carrying those lucky enough to board. Cries and prayers filled the air as families were torn apart. Fathers kissed their wives and children goodbye, staying behind with quiet courage. Hour by hour, the Titanic slipped further beneath the waves. The lights flickered, then went out, plunging the ship into darkness. Finally, with a roar and a thunderous groan, the Titanic broke in 2. The stern rose high into the sky, then plunged downward into the icy depths. Within minutes, the ship was gone, leaving only silence, broken by the desperate cries of those in the freezing water. Over 1,500 souls perished that night. Only about 700 survived, rescued hours later by the ship Carpathia. Survivors huddled together in lifeboats, numb with cold and grief, watching as dawn broke over the endless sea. The mighty Titanic, once a symbol of human triumph, had vanished forever beneath the Atlantic. Yet the memory of that voyage never faded. The tragedy of the Titanic became a lesson in humility. No matter how advanced or powerful humanity's creations, nature always holds the final word. The ship had been called unsinkable, yet it sank on its very first journey. It was a reminder that pride can blind us, and that safety, compassion, and preparedness must never be overlooked. The Titanic story lives on to this day. Its wreck rests deep on the ocean floor, a haunting monument to the lives lost and the dreams shattered. But it is also a story of courage, of the crew who worked tirelessly to save others, of the musicians who played to the very end, of the families who faced unthinkable choices with love and bravery. In the clay of history, the Titanic is etched as both a marvel and a warning. It was the grandest ship ever built, yet it met a tragic fate. The echoes of that night remind us of the fragile line between triumph and disaster, and of the human spirit that endures even in the darkest hours.